Hello, my crafty friends. It's Jelly Bean, and I'm slowly coming back. I'm feeling much better here lately, and hopefully it's going to get better. I don't know if the warm weather is attributing to it or what's going on, but I'm here today because I know y'all seen the video that I put up about the easy flowers to make, like this right here. And I had so many questions, so many different questions about how to make the flowers that I thought it would be easier for me to come and show you exactly how to make them rather than try to answer all the questions. So, we're gonna do a little short craft with me. And I'm gonna do these flowers, and depending on how long it takes, I may do one more different kind. But right now I'm gonna show you how to make these flowers here. The satin flowers with the center. These, as you can see on my board, are about 3 inches wide, each one of them. And the satin that we use is 2.5 inches wide to make these. And this is double face satin, which means it's shiny on both sides. For these particular flowers right here, let me show you the tools you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a lighter of some sort, or a candle. You can use a candle. And I use my tweezers to hold the ribbon while I singe the ends. And I use my bone folder. You don't have to have this, but I'll show you exactly why I use this. Let me push it up so I'll be in frame. And you'll need a 1 to 1.5 inch circle of cardstock for the bottom. I try to use the same coordinating color on the bottom so it kind of blends. And you'll need some sort of glue. Now, the flowers that I made previously, I used my wet glue for, the fabric tack type stuff. But for the purposes of the video and it not taking real long, I'm going to use my glue gun, which you can also do. And you'll need some sort of center. Now, there's several different kinds of centers that you can use, and I'm going to show you quite a few. You can use buttons. I've got some vintage buttons. I've got some earring pieces, different kinds of earring pieces. Here's another earring piece here. Another earring piece. Here's an earring. I've got some, oh my goodness, I meant to get those other buttons. I have some more vintage style buttons that I'm going to actually use this one right here. It's a vintage button, some of these. Or you can use pearls. Now I have some just regular round pearls. You can also use some of these little cabochon flowers for a center if you'd like to do that. You can use the bigger cabochon flowers. Or you can use, now I have some of these giant flat back pearls. Whoops, I can't hold on to anything today, y'all, I'm sorry. Or you can use some of the, if I can get them out. My hands aren't working quite right today. Some of the flat back bling. These are some pretty good sized bling. They're probably about 3/4 of an inch wide. Yeah, just like the big pearls. They're about 3/4 of an inch wide. So those. You're also going to need some thread. Now this is coat thread that I have on these little bobbins. I went in the thrift store one day and they had a whole box of them. And this is actually for coats, so it's real strong to used to pull and gather the material. And you'll need a sewing needle, just a regular straight sewing needle with the eye on the top like that. Okay, now the first thing you're going to do is cut your piece of satin. Let me move this stuff here out of the way so I can show you how to do this. And the first one I'm going to make is like this red one right here. And let me kind of get some stuff out of the way. I spread everything out, but then it's in my way. Okay, you're going to cut your piece of satin. You're going to cut it 14 inches long. And you can probably see my ends are not completely straight, but that's not real important. The next thing you're going to do is, if you'll see how the end is spraying, I like to come back, and which time you cut it, if you do this time you cut it, you won't have the big pieces, but I've been moving it around and stuff. And just get the big pieces off. Now I take my tweezers and I lay it right on the edge, and I have the edge sticking out all the way across like this. And it doesn't have to be perfect again. I wish my light was better, and I wish my tweezers worked better too. But anyway, you take your tweezers, or you can just hold it. You don't have to use tweezers, and you're going to singe the edge. And it's not a matter of burning it, it's just let the heat, you can see, I don't want to get too close to my camera and heat my phone up, but you can see the ribbon kind of curls up here. But you don't want to get the flame too close or it'll singe it and turn black, especially if you're using white. So you're going to do that. Now, for the purposes of the video, I went ahead and singed the other end, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. And then after you singe it, to make it simpler, this is what I do. And if you see on this ribbon, it has, if I can get my light to work a little bit better. If you see real close, come on, focus. There we go. On the edge is a finished edge. And on fabric, they call it a bias edge. I'm not sure if it's called the same thing on ribbon or not, but this is what I do to make it easier. I go ahead and fold my ribbon in half and put the bias edge to bias. And of course, when I'm trying to film this, it's going to be more difficult. And as I fold it like this, I take my bone folder, if I can hold on to it, and I kind of mash out where to make a crease in the fabric. Because, number one, it'll stay folded. And number two, because one of the most important things when making these flowers is to have the fabric flush with both sides here, because if one side is longer than the other, your flower will end up being crooked, one side longer than the other. So we're just going to crease it a little bit just so it'll hold in place while we're trying to, it's not going to hold it exactly in place, but it's going to help. And then too, we know if we're off center, if we have moved the fabric while we're sewing it. And I don't know if you can see the little crease that it has in the center, but that's very helpful when you're sewing. Now, I know everyone doesn't sew. Everyone doesn't know what a running stitch is. For those of you who have never sewn in your life, I'm going to show you. And I'm sure this is probably just basic knowledge, but like I said, not everyone has sewn before, so I'm going to hold it up to this so you can see. But in the sewing needle, there's a little tiny eye, and you're going to put your thread through that eye. Once you have threaded your needle, put it through the eye, and it's a little difficult. Now there are, I think I have one, a needle threader. Let me see. No, I have actually lost mine. But anyway, there's a little metal needle threader that has a wire on the end and like a loop, and you would put the wire through there and then you put your thread through the loop and pull it through, and it threads it a lot easier. But anyway, you're going to thread your needle. Now I have a great big long one because I'm going to do more than one flower with this same thing. But when you're first starting out, just so it's simpler for you, your thread, you're going to fold it in half and you're going to tie it at the end. And I have made a double knot at the end. I don't know if you can see that little knot right there. Let me put it on the red so you can see. I think it'll be easier to see. See my little knot right there? And it's a double knot. I tied it once and then tied it again. To make one flower, your thread probably needs, your ribbon here is 14 inches. So if you made your thread from the needle to the knot about 20 inches, that would be way more than enough, because you got to have enough to tie it when you get done. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to fold the ribbon in half and make sure that our finished edges match up. And we're going to do just a little bit at a time. And what we're going to do, and plus too, if you're not careful, your thread will get tangled up. So if you're just starting to sew or just learning, you're better off with a shorter thread. But you're going to poke your needle in to where it comes out on the other side. And you're just going to poke it back through. Can you see how the needle is? And then we're going to poke it back in, poke it back out, and see how it's just going in, out, in, out, in, out. That's all we're going to do all the way across. In, out, and out. And then once you get a little bunch on there, you can pull your needle through and pull your thread. See the thread on there? Now I, on purpose, did red with white thread so you could see it. Now, when you make your stitches, you want to make them consistent. You don't want one great big long one and a short one, but they don't have to be exact. You just want to make them about the same size, because you don't want, that's what makes your ruffles. And if your ruffles, if you make little tiny ones, you'll have real close ruffles on one side and real wide ones on the other. So just try to stay about the same lengths apart and just go in and out. This is what is called a running stitch. And you're going to do this. Now see how my thread went around the ribbon? We're just going to pull the ribbon through there and then pull it. And it's going to go down. Now I on purpose left about 3 inches off the end because we're going to need that to tie. And we're going to go all the way across the bottom of the ribbon. Do you see about how close to the bottom I am? Just real close to the bottom, but enough to make a little crease there. And we're just trying to stay in frame. It's hard to do when you're doing this. But we're just going to keep going in and out of the fabric, down, up, making sure you go through both layers, pull the thread, and it went around my ribbon again. It only does this when I'm on camera. That's okay. That shows y'all what to do if it happens to you. Okay. Can you see my running stitch? See, my stitches are not the same size. There are some of them a little bit further, a little bit closer. But as long as, you know, they're almost the same, you're fine. And just make sure your edges up here stay. I'm going to go in and out through both layers all the way across. Now we're doing this on the folded side, on the side that we fold. So we're going to do this and we're going to go all the way across. Now to save time on this video, I've got one that's almost done, so I'm going to change over and we're going to act like we just kept going all the way across there. And with the magic, with the camera magic, ta-da, we got one almost done. So I did it all but about 3 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And see, on this one, my stitches are about the same. Some of them's a little crooked, some of them straight. That's okay, because this part of the flower will not be seen once we get it together. So I'm just going to continue going across the bottom. We're going to act like I didn't change it out and make it go faster. Just making sure to keep my seams together up here at the top. And I'm going to continue going across. Now I'm going to go a little bit faster now that I've showed y'all the basics, and once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to do this too. But like I said, this is not an exact science. It doesn't have to be exact, just close. And then when you get to the end, you're just going to get as close as you can to the edge. Don't leave a big gap at the end, and we're going to pull it. Now, if you feel more comfortable at this time cutting off your needle so it won't poke you, you can do that. I usually work with it on there. There we go. So, alright, I got my running stitch. This is our running stitch all the way across the bottom of the ribbon. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this end with the knot, and I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to make it start gathering. And I'm just going to keep gathering to where I have 5 or 6 inches on this end. Well, that's longer than that. Enough to hold on to so you can tie it off. And then I'm going to come to this end, and I'm going to just keep pulling it to gather it. Now, if you want to make it real easy, you can iron your satin, and it'll stay down right at the seam. It won't come up if you iron it first. But, okay, can you see how this is all gathered up? Can you see the flowers starting to form? Now take your 2 ends of your thread here, and I know it's hard to see. I'm trying to think of an easier way to, so y'all could see it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Y'all excuse my sniffles. It's late at night. Happy New Year, by the way. And late at night, my sinus medicine starts wearing off, so I have a lot of sniffles. But anyway, okay, we've gathered our flower, and I'm just going to start tying it off. I'm going to pull one through, and I'm going to pull it. And since see how it still has a big hole in the center? I'm going to push it down to gather more. And I'm going to keep pulling until I get that hole a little bit smaller, because I don't want a great big hole where it's going to be hard to cover. And that's about as tight as we're going to get it. I'm going to tie it 2 or 3 times. Now, like I said, I like this heavier thread. It's a coat thread. My hands aren't completely working correctly tonight. That's why I'm having a problem. But okay, after you get it tied off, I put 3 or 4 knots in there. I'm gonna cut the thread off, and you can leave about, you know, 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch of thread, because it's not gonna be seen. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna get a circle. And like I said, I like to use a coordinating color so it doesn't show as much. And I think it looks a little more professional too. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to get my glue gun here. And I'm just going to put some glue on my glue gun. I'm going to just put a big old blob here that'll hold the flower on. Just enough to kind of cover the center of it real good. And then I'm going to take my flower and I'm going to push it right there in the center. And I like to take my tweezers, because if you're not careful, the glue will push up on your hand and it hurts. So, and if you see, you can see the glue coming through the center there. that's okay, because I'm going to take this pretty brass button here, and you don't even have to cut off the shank because it's going to go in that hole. And I'm going to put a little tiny bead around the edge of the hole so it'll hold it on. Not a lot, it don't take a whole lot, but enough to grab onto the button. And I'm going to put the button right there in the middle, and I'm going to hold it for a minute. When I do it with the liquid glue, I like to take a clamp and put on it so it holds it. I hope y'all been able to see that. This, hang on y'all, I'm gonna move you back so maybe I'll stay in frame a little better. Alright, but okay, now get my glue string off. Alright, now I have my center, and what you're gonna do to make it look like this one is you're gonna take, and now your two edges where the edge of the ribbon is here, just fold them down. Just kind of turn them under. Got glue strings. Alright, now you're going to take your flower and you're going to pull this apart. See how I'm doing the two pieces that are the finished edges? I'm just pulling it apart all the way around. You go all the way around, pulling it apart. Kind of turn under the raw edges there that we singed, and you're just gonna pull it and shape it the way until you like the way it looks. You're supposed to do this before you put the button on, y'all. I forgot. I kind of got ahead of myself. But see how the flower's taking shape there? And I think this button may be a little bit too big for this flower, so I may have to put a different center on there. But the closer you pull it to where you sewed it, the fuller the flower is. But see there how pretty that's looking? Now when I put this on there, it mashes it down. So I'm going to use something a little bit smaller. I'm actually just going to put a pearl in there. What do y'all think? I think the pearl looks pretty. What? Turn it where the hole ain't showing. That looks pretty. Let's put the pearl in there. I'll put a little bit of glue around the edges again just so it'll hold on, because that glue I had in there before is dried now. And make sure and put this to where the holes are on the side, not sticking up. I wish I had my other tweezers. I did a minute ago, but I don't know what happened to them. Oh, there they are. These work better for this. So, if I don't hurry up, glue's gonna dry again. Now, because one of the things that I do not like most of all is getting glue on my fingers. Hot glue. Because it burns. I've had blisters on my fingers before from doing this. Had some glue strings right there I was just getting out. And now, again, you can continue shaping it until you get it the way you want to. And like I said, these are so simple. How pretty is that? I wish my light was better. And see, you got the red on the back. You can use a smaller circle. That's just what I had already punched. So there's another red one, and I started another one to show you. I showed some in my other video that I had figured out how to make a little bit differently. Hang on a second. And I'm going to show you how to make it as well, since that didn't take too long. I made these here, and these are very easy as well to make, and I'm going to show you how. Actually, we're going to do basically the same thing, just we're not going to use as long of a piece of ribbon. We are going to use, and I have already started one and set it over here so I can show y'all how to do this. I have a big pile of stuff here to show y'all, so now I thought I had it right here. What did I do with it? Well, it was here a minute ago. There it is, it fell. Alright, let me get that. Alright, instead of cutting your ribbon 14 inches, what we're going to do is cut our ribbon about 8 inches. Now you probably can't see, but I've already got my running stitch in there all the way to the end, and I did exactly the same thing, except for this one is 8 inches instead of 14. So now what I'm going to do is when I gather this, I'm going to kind of roll it around my finger while I'm gathering it. And I'm just going to pull it and kind of roll it around my finger here. Hopefully y'all can see. See how I got my finger in there? I'm just kind of curling it around my finger and pulling it together as I do it. And it's kind of, you got to go past the start. You just roll it around like this. See, it's starting to take shape. And as you gather it, you're going to roll it more, because you don't want it real super wide. But I'm just kind of, see how I'm just rolling it around in a circle like this. And even though this one sticks up, when you pull it to pull the gather, it'll pull it back in. See how it did that? Maybe I should have used another color. Alright, now I've got my flower rolled. I'm going to shape it a little bit and get it the way I want it. Get it kind of even. And I'm out of the centers that Alicia had sent me, but I had this one, but my tape was coming off, and the only floral tape I had was pink, so I had to rewrap it with pink, but I did it just so I could show y'all. But these come just like this with the leaves in behind them. Some of the leaves are smaller and larger, and they're not glued on. So what I do is I pull them off, pull the leaf off. And I'm going to, sometimes I roll it too tight where I can't get this down the center, so I have to unroll it a little bit so I can get my center down there, maybe all the way. And I put my center in and pull it through the back, and then I just push it down in there and roll the flower back up around it. And let's see here, I'm just going to roll it, and then I'm going to pull the strings to gather it back. See how that gathered there? I hope y'all can see, my big fingers ain't in the way. And then it's easy once you do it, and it's easier when you're not on camera. But once you get it where you like it, you're gonna tie it, and you're gonna tie it in a knot 3 or 4 times like we did before on the other one, letting your stick out the back. Once you get the 3 or 4 knots in there and you feel like it's going to stay real good, and I don't know if I would want to do this with regular thread. You need a heavy duty thread to do this, because when you're pulling on it and stuff like that, it's going to break probably with just regular thread. So anyway, you just play with it until you get it the way you want to. Cut your thread off. I got thread everywhere, y'all. I'm sorry. I got stuff everywhere. I'm not real good at tutorials, I'll tell you, but I just felt like this was what y'all needed this time. Alright, now my little leaf that I pulled off, I'm gonna take a couple dots of glue and put back here on the back of my flower where the thread is. See where I'm putting it? Just right up here against the stem. And then I'm going to put my leaf back on, and I'm going to pull it all the way up there to where it gets in that glue. And the trick to this is to try not to let your leaves curl under and get in the glue before you get it all the way up there. But see, now that kind of makes it sturdy and holds it on. You got a leaf on your flower, and there's your flower. Isn't that pretty? I like these, I really do. Now these, I had to make the stamens, and I didn't have the little leaves to put underneath, so I think it looks better with the leaves. It looks like more realistic, I reckon. And see, this one's a little big and it's kind of flopping around. I'm gonna put a little dotted glue on there so it'll hold it up. There we go. Put a little dotted glue on this side. The other ones wasn't quite this big on the leaf part. But anyway, I thought those were cute. I wanted to show you that. Now, I'm going to kind of show you how to do these other ones. I showed y'all in the other video these here. And this is using the same exact ribbon. The satin ribbon that's 2.5 inches wide. But you do it a little bit different. Instead of sewing it, those are no sew there. You don't have to sew those at all. These, the shabby ones. I like the way they fray out and get shabby. But what you're gonna do when you make these is on the finished edge, the bias right here, you're gonna put a little bit of glue. And I like using my favorite glue that I've showed y'all before, because let's see, this glue here is kind of like hot glue without the hot. It dries real quick, and there's only one place I know to get it, and it's a little local store. It's the only place I know to get it. It's Craft Medley Premium Craft Glue. Quick setting, machine washable, dries crystal clear, and stores airtight. And it's by Multicraft. But this stuff to me is like a glue gun without the heat, because it dries just about as fast. But what I do is I sit here and I put me a little bit of glue down, and then I fold it over. And it dries almost instantly, so then I just move down and put another little bead and get that, and I go all the way down like that. Once I have the strip, now these will take about 18 inches instead of 14. And this is one that I was working with that I didn't get done, and my cat kind of got it and frayed it a little bit more. But this is one that I did, and I glued right here on the finished edge, and then I come back with my scissors and I just cut all the way down, all the way to the end. Once you fray it like that, you're going to take you a circle, cardstock circle, and I'm going to use white so you can see it, and you're going to start on the outer edge, and you're going to glue, and you're going to like fold it back over so it goes around, glue, and let me see if I can zoom so y'all can see this a little bit better, what I'm doing. Okay, maybe this will help. Alright, my hands are dry too, sorry y'all. You're going to take your circle, and I don't want to make a flower out of this because the cat got it and frayed it more than what it should have been, and it looks really raggy. But you're going to put a little bit of glue on the edge of your circle, and you're going to put your fabric down, your ribbon, and then, okay y'all, I totally apologize. My phone cut off in the process of making the flowers. I didn't get too far, but my storage was full. So I have decided, since this one has gotten a little lengthy, I'm going to stop this one here, and I'll pick up where I left off and do a part 2. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a crafty day. Bye for now.